3 ways to avoid spiritual bypassers. Peace and blessings. This is Derric, RauKhu. And in this video, I want to talk about 3 ways to avoid spiritual bypassers. Now, first of all, since we've gone ahead and we've entered the era where it's a little bit more popular to be spiritual, to claim to be spiritual than it is to be religious, you got a lot of people who really, they like that whole spiritual moniker. And as a result, they'll say, hey, I'm being spiritual and all that kind of stuff. And they're interested in all these different things. They're all over the place. But when it gets down to the nuts and bolts, you find that they're going ahead and they're doing some other things that is not pertaining to anything that's spiritual. Okay, so I want to go ahead and talk about that, and mainly because these are individuals in which I refer to as being spiritual bypassers. Let's see, what is a spiritual bypasser? There's many definitions of it, but just to give you an example of what a spiritual bypasser is, this is an individual that when given an opportunity to go ahead and to actually grow, they'll quickly take the easy route. For instance, this individual might go ahead and they might be on a diet or so, and they'll give up on the diet, and they'll say, hey, well, the diet was a failure and all that kind of stuff. And what they fail to realize is that it wasn't that the diet was a failure, because for the most part, all diets basically talk about the same thing. They all talk about cutting back or reducing excessive amount of sugar. So all diets basically talk about the same thing. So when people go in here and they fail in a diet or so, what they fail in is their inability to be able to program their subconscious, or be able to, through self-hypnosis, or to be able to impress their goal upon their subconscious part of their being. That's what they're failing in. And they don't understand that they've been given an opportunity to go ahead. The whole thing in regards to the diet is just basically, it's a ruse to get them involved in the whole spiritual culture, to get them involved in spiritual development, and getting them to learn how to go to impress things upon their spirit and get things going. All right. So that's what they're missing. And instead of them going ahead, like I said, embracing that part, what happens is usually they take the easy route. Okay. And it could be, the easy route could be anything. It could be a host of anything. So basically, like I said, this is the reason why we want to go ahead and we want to try to avoid these individuals. Now, first of all, you can't really avoid them. Okay. And I wrote down some notes because I want to make sure that we cover all of this. So first of all, you can't really avoid them. All right. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you have to also realize that once upon a time we were spiritual bypassers as well. Okay. Part of the reason why we're not spiritual bypassers is because there was something that basically took place in our life that basically it made us embrace our spirituality. It made us embrace this and start using our spirituality and taking responsibility for our decisions, for the choices and everything that we made. And because of that, that's the reason why we're not spiritual bypassers. All right. Or we're not spiritual bypassers anymore. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead, whenever you encounter these individuals, is basically, you got to try to, like I said, you got to try to go ahead and convince them, not so much beat them over the head and all that kind of stuff, but you got to try to go ahead and gently persuade them, for the most part, that, hey, they have to go ahead and do the same thing. They have to take responsibility for the choices and decisions that they've made. And understand that, yeah, we all have had some pretty bad experiences. We all have some things that have happened in our past. Some of these things that we weren't able to control or so. But it is not those situations in the past that define us. Okay. It's the choices that we make now that define who we are supposed to be. And that's something that we have to learn. And this is this is the whole purpose of us getting involved in spirituality. But if you're spiritually bypassing it, you never come across that. You never really embrace that. So that's one of the things that we have to go in here and, like I said, encourage and try to motivate and help these individuals to understand. The second thing to avoid spiritual bypassers is basically we have to go ahead and not take everything that they're doing. Don't take it personal, all right? In fact, try to remove ourselves as much as possible from it, all right? Try to be as subjective as you possibly can, all right? For instance, I remember there was an individual who, they asked for a reading. And here it is. I went ahead and I gave them the reading and all that kind of stuff. And I noticed that right after I gave them the reading, because they didn't like the way, they didn't like the, the counsel or the advice that came to them, they basically, jumped and went to somebody else and got almost like a similar kind of reading or so. All right. Now, I didn't take it personal, because the first thing I always do whenever I go ahead and I give a reading, I always explain to people, hey, you know what? I am going ahead and I'm providing a service for you. Okay. It's not me personally that's doing it. It is basically, I am like the telephone that is connecting you and your ancestors and spirit guides together through a dialogue. That's all I'm doing. Okay. The reason why this individual went ahead and they got upset is mainly because they were interpreting, and from their understanding, they think that whenever you do an oracle reading, that basically, I'm predicting the future or so. And I had to tell them, I tried to explain that to them before. I don't predict the future, okay? I don't read people's future. I am not a fortune teller, I don't use a fortune telling device, all right? These are all, misconceptions that people have about oracles. And that's not what I do, okay? When I use an oracle, a divination system, whenever I use shells, cards, whichever oracle system that I'm using, basically what that is, there's a very highly, it's a very strong, high mathematical process involved in it. I am looking at it from a probability perspective, okay? I am gathering up your facts, and I'm going ahead and the oracle is basically telling you the probability of certain things or certain events occurring. That's what an oracle does, okay? It does not read your future. But people who are spiritual bypassers, they don't understand that, okay? They think that, you're supposed to go ahead, you basically are getting a reading, and the reading is telling you you're going to have this fortune, you're going to meet this person, and all that, some individual tall, dark, and handsome, and all that kind of nonsense, okay? That's not what we're doing. That's not what spirituality is about, okay? So anytime you go in here and you come across these individuals, like I said, the way in which I deal with them, try to remove yourself from that, from the entire situation as much as possible. Don't take it personal, okay? Try to avoid doing any of that, okay? Like I said, whenever I'm doing readings or whatever, I always explain, okay, this is a conversation between you and your ancestors and spirit guides, or you and your higher self. This has nothing to do with me. I am just a medium. I am just a telephone connecting two individuals or two groups on, different ends, okay? So the third way to avoid spiritual bypassers, I have found, is to go ahead and attach a price to whatever service that you are going to provide. One of the first signs, and the reason why I'm saying to do this is because one of the first signs of anybody who is coming into a spiritual awakenedness, okay, anybody who is becoming spiritually awakened, one of the first signs of this occurring, this phenomenon occurring within us, is that we begin to realize that nothing in this physical realm is free, okay? That's one of the first signs that a lot of us realize as soon as we start, as soon as we become a little bit more, start becoming spiritually aware. That's the first thing, one of the first rules we begin to realize. All right. And in the process of doing that, we begin to understand that because everything is not for free, everything costs. There's a price for everything. You got to earn something, you know, or every time you basically you get something, or every time everything that you have, you have to earn. Because you start realizing that, you start to also become, when you're becoming spiritually awakened, you basically you give a little bit more offerings. Okay, you have no problem paying for something. You have no problem paying for services. Okay, and the reason why is because somehow it dawns on us in this process, in that when we're going through this this metamorphosis, it dawns on us that basically anything that we earn, we appreciate. Okay, so because every time we earn something, we appreciate it, we also understand that if something is given freely, what happens is that it's not appreciated. Most times, or most of the time, when something is given freely, it is abused, it's misused, it's taken advantage of, it's not appreciated. Okay, and that's that's the reason why we go in here and you'll see a price for everything. The price is not because people are, true spiritual people are not trying to make money off of, they're not trying to make money off of people. Okay, they only apply that price for the most part so that people go in here and they take it serious. Yeah, for the most part, that's what they do it. Some people take it serious. People go in here and they respect their time, they respect the energy that was actually put in that. Okay, but nothing comes for free. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I stopped dealing with the conscious community, because the conscious community, there's a lot of people in the conscious community that think that for whatever reason, every time you do something, it's supposed to be for free. You're supposed to just give your time and give your energy. Damn the fact that you might have a family. Damn the fact that you got responsibilities. No, you're just supposed to give yourself and give your time and energy freely because it's for the people. Man, whatever. Okay, that's nonsense. That's totally. I think people who think like that, they must believe, or they must think that you're supposed to build a community on air money or something. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. So I digress. But the point that I'm making is that you got to go in here and you have to put it, you add or attach a price to it, right? When you do that, these spiritual bypassers, when they go in and they do this, and they come across any service or anything that is provided by you or so, they will go in and they will take, if they're serious about it, they'll pay for it. If they're not serious about it, then basically they'll move on. Okay. But this is how you basically deal with spiritual bypassers, because they have to realize they got to start taking responsibility for their choices and for their decisions, just like we all did. Okay. They have to go ahead and they have to see that every time you're doing something and it's, you get an opportunity to grow, this is when you're supposed to take advantage of that opportunity. Okay. Instead of shying away from it, fleeing from it, running from it, or whatever, this is the time in which you're supposed to learn how to improve yourself by tapping into your higher self. Okay. And that's our purpose. That's our goal. That's how we deal with these individuals. Okay. So, like I said, I just wanted to go in here and drop that down. Just give you a few little suggestions about that. Again, thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing. If you got any questions, got any comments, drop me a line. Other than that, talk to you later. Heads approved. Peace.
Here she goes again. I can feel her eyes closing in. It's like a rigged game, but how the fuck